Hey, I'm April.
And I'm Bailey, and this is Season 2 of the Nestle Podcast.
Last year we did something dramatic. We both moved our families across town to the same neighborhood. Our plan was to link arms as we intentionally loved our neighbors.
A few months later, we felt called to link arms with all of you as well. And that's when the Nestle Podcast was born.
Here we chat about how to help design meet purpose. Our hope is that you will find inspiration to live more intentionally. We want you to love your home, to love your neighbor, and ultimately to love and serve the Lord.
Every home has a story, and in ours, we're trying to create a culture that's both a launching pad and a soft place to land. So join us each week as we let you peek in our nests. As always, the door will be open. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome to the Nestled Podcast. We're so glad you joined us today.
I'm Bailey.
And I'm April.
And we're glad that you're here.
We're so glad. So in this space each week, we want to not only share from our hearts to you and to hear from guests, but we also want to encourage you to share from your heart with us as well.
So we have created a hashtag on Instagram. It's hashtag where I nestle, and some of you are already using it, but we wanted to make sure we say this at the beginning of the podcast today to encourage you guys to go on there. Our hope is that we're going to kind of build community online where we're encouraging one another to go out and love your actual community around you.
Yes, and it's such a great way to maybe give some ideas and things that you've been doing to reach out into your neighborhood, but also just design ideas or things in your home and that kind of thing. Because what we have found is that we're so encouraged by one another and so inspired, and it's so good to feel like you're not alone.
Right,
And
because this is a crazy way to live and
Right.
countercultural. So
yeah, and so in our pursuit of creating a soft place for our people to land, but also sending them out, and that includes us going out as well, I think that it's just a great way for us to encourage each other. So get on there, and if you have some previous posts about your neighbors or about your home, tag them with Where I Nestle so we can see what you have going on.
Yep, that would just make our day.
Yay, we love it.
We do. We really love it. A quick neighbor update. I was just telling April, my sweet neighbor from across the street that we talked about yesterday, she came over.
Last week.
Last week.
Yes.
She came over and brought us some treats to say thank you for mowing her lawn. And I ended up feeling like she needed to talk a little bit longer, so I invited her inside, and she saw my house in the Sunday afternoon disaster zone. So
this is not just something we talk about, you
right.
guys.
Whenever she left, I looked at Justin and said, "Oh my gosh." And he said, "Bailey, that's exactly what you tell other people to do. Open your door and let people in and love on them anyway." And I said, "You're right."
But then, did you not think about Dana, and how she would be like, "Yep, that's why you should."
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was like, that's why you never let the laundry get so out of control that it's in your entire living room while you're trying to fold it and get it put away, which was my situation.
Right.
So, but in my defense, I was sick Sunday.
Also, we have talked about before how whenever you go to somebody's house and everything's always perfect, it's pretty intimidating. So at least the bar is dropped.
Right.
There's no intimidation there.
Right. Well, also, I invited her over to dinner on Thursday, so I'll make sure it's clean.
She'll get to have the real experience on Thursday.
Right. Well, she had the real experience on Sunday, but yeah.
She'll get the visitor
treatment on Thursday sure.
Yeah. So for our neighbor update, I have gotten to know my neighbors a little bit better. My new neighbors, and we've just been over there working, but they invited my kids over to play on their water slide in their backyard. They have an only child, and he's little, he's 3, but he's like the same size as Gideon, who is my 6-year-old, who's small for his age.
Yeah, he's small.
So I kept having to be like, we're not the same age, so just remember, don't tackle him, please. Right,
yeah.
But that was very sweet, and I saw my kids coming out of her back door with snacks, and I was like, well, welcome to the neighborhood, you know?
Right.
But yesterday, she stopped outside and was talking to me for a bit, and I got to give her a tour of the house because she said she hadn't been in it in years, and so that was fun, and then she kind of gave me the lay of the land. And gave me a little background to some other neighbors, and so I felt like I kind of got the inside scoop.
And
obviously, I need to get to know people, but the new neighbors across the street we don't really know yet. She doesn't really know yet, so we're okay there. But to both fill that out together. But I felt like I made a friend, and I know her name now, and her husband's name, and their kid's name. So
it's a big step.
Big step. I told her we would have her over for dinner whenever we move in, which may be never.
Right. Could be after Christmas, but no. No, y'all are going to get in there.
We may be homeless next month.
No, y'all will be in there. I have faith in you. Even if everything's a disaster, you'll be in there. So,
yep.
It's going to happen. We'll get everything moved. So.
Y'all keep following along on our renovation. It's coming along. Slowly but surely.
It's going to be fabulous.
Everyone's been so sweet and encouraging, so I appreciate you guys.
Yep. So today we have Katrina. We loved talking to Katrina. I know that I feel like we say that every week, but we are so lucky. We have gotten to go to meet the best people. Yeah, we love her.
Yes.
And she's so beautiful and cute and fun, and I think that you're really going to be encouraged by hearing about the book that she wrote and just her life story. So
yeah,
here's Katrina.
So today we have with us Katrina McCain.
Yes, hi. How are y'all?
We're so excited to get to chat with her. And Katrina, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Sure. So I'm from North Carolina. I'm from a city called Charlotte. I'm currently living in Greensboro. I'm married. Been married for 5 years now. And we have 2 little girls. We have Kailyn and Jaelle. Jaelle is 5 weeks old. And Kailyn will be 3 years old next month. So that's my family. And I don't know. I love them to pieces. They have definitely helped me to grow and mature into a responsible person. And I'm learning. So yeah, they will. I'm learning so much about myself that I never knew existed. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's just so crazy how people can just bring dormant things out of you. And, so I'm definitely growing as my family's growing. So love them so much.
Good and bad. I have found that being a mother has brought out the best in me and also brought out some things that I'm like, where did that come from? Like the deepest, darkest part of my heart.
Right. Yes, it's true.
And as they get older and you start to see things come out of them and you're like, that came from me.
That came from me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm mad at you, but I was just telling April earlier that Justin last night heard me getting on to the girls about their messy room, and then I came out and he said, their parents haven't been the best example of how to keep everything tidy. So
well, see, I always thought I was a pretty neat person. I always thought that, but that was when it was just me.
Right.
Just me. And so, most men, I think I can put up this on most men, they get a little cluttery. Mm-hmm. So, when I got married, I was like, okay, we'll have to do a little bit better. But now that I have kids, I'm finding out that I'm finding it a little bit more comfortable with it not being pristine all the time.
Yes, there's a balance. There's for sure balance. Yes.
Yeah, there is. So yeah.
Okay, so Katrina, tell us a little bit about your book that you have written. We've had the chance to read through your book, and I think it's a message that a lot of people are going to be so encouraged by. It's called Beyond Being Good. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So Beyond Being Good is a book that's been on my heart for a while, and I'm just so thankful that the Lord just gave me the time and the tools to actually put it into a physical book instead of just ideas. But the premise of the book is that our salvation and our walk with God is not up to us to be perfect, but it's up to Him to do the perfecting within us. And I think that's just such an important message because so many of us, and not even intentionally, but we just go through life wanting to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And we don't realize that it becomes self-righteousness sometimes. And that leaves us with a burden, right? Because then if we mess up, it's the whole castle comes crumbling down. Mm-hmm. But, that's a burden that Christ never put on us, right? He came to give us his perfection. He came to take away our sin and our struggles and our temptations in replace of his unfailing love and his perfect love. And so as we grow closer to him, he begins to just transform us from the inside out through his goodness and not our own. And so, Beyond Being Good is like, the title is the message. It's like our walk with Christ is so far beyond just being a good person. It's so far beyond being a good girl, being a good wife, being a good mom. It's so further beyond that. And once we lay down that title of good girl, good Christian, I think that's when we really begin to thrive in the abundance of the life that God's called us to live in the first place.
I think that it's important for all of us to realize that our good works are as filthy rags. For me, I've said time and again, I would be the Pharisee of Pharisees if it weren't for Jesus. I would be the one that's like, no, I go to church and my family goes to church and we look good and we do our Bible study. And honestly, I would probably be more religious if I didn't have Jesus, because it would be, I would be relying on that to be in good standing with everyone else and with God. And it would be this thing of I look down on you because get yourself together. Right. And, the thing that I have realized in my walk with Jesus is no, your righteousness is worth nothing. It is my righteousness. And in that, you are sinful in your thinking you're good enough. Right.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like this book is a book for every woman who's just wanting more of God, an authentic understanding and relationship with Christ. Because, for those of us who, I was raised and grew up in the church, but there's so many people who weren't. Right. And then they feel disqualified because it's I do know that I'm a sinner and I'm not good enough. Right. So I feel like the whole Beyond Being Good, it really does speak to both sides of the spectrum. Yes. For those of us who feel like we have to work and prove our goodness, and then those of us who know that, I'm not good and I don't know how to be good. So then maybe there's no point in me even trying. Yes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that kind of covers the whole span of just womanhood in general, because we all have those places where it's I'm good here, but I'm not good enough here. But either way, it doesn't matter, because Christ's perfect love covers all of that, and he makes it possible.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that it's neat because we started this podcast kind of with a similar view, but in design in people's homes, because we were finding that we're going into people's homes and ladies were insecure because they felt like they weren't good at decorating and they were not good at hosting, and so they were essentially closing themselves off in their home and not feeling like they had something presentable to be able to invite people into. So even in a very simplistic way, we were able to see the same thing in people of, now that my house looks good, I can have people in my house. And I think that we are all constantly battling this thing of putting on this front for people that we feel like we have to look a certain way.
Performance.
Yes. Yeah. And our homes need to look a certain way, or it's not good enough and we're not going to be accepted. And we're all wanting acceptance, and then we get to come to Jesus and I accept you. I love you. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So I think it's a neat thing that we can see even in our line of work, and that was encouraging for us to want to share people's stories and be able to say just wherever you are, you can be intentional with your life. Right. Right.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think, you didn't mean to, but what you said, it could be a sermon. You know what I mean? It's because we do feel like that just even spiritually. I mean, you're talking about a home, but, our lives are the home that God wants to reside in as well. And sometimes we're I don't have the tools to make it nice for you, so I just don't want to invite you in, right? Because I'm scared for you to see that I'm not really good at decorating myself. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I just love that you said that, that because it just made me think like, oh wow, that would be like a great like sermon topic.
My husband is a pastor, and it's been said that I like to preach, so we're just gonna leave that.
well, my dad's a minister, so I guess we just have that in common.
Now, one of our favorite things in the world, and a common thread that we have from a lot of our guests, is women who love to cheer other women on.
Yeah,
and I know that you're passionate about that too. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Why you think that's important and how you do it?
Yeah, I do. I think that's really, really important. I think, okay, so let's just be real. Like, our culture is just obsessed with like these female quote unquote empowerment TV shows that really are just like tearing each other down. Like, it's really not empowerment. I don't know what it is, really, but it's like, I don't want to name names, but we know like the reality TV shows and whatever. And I feel like, you become what you spend the most time doing. And there's so many women that watch those shows and and they begin to like act it out. And it's not just the shows, it's whatever it is that we are allowing ourselves to just be influenced by. And unfortunately, the things in this world don't influence us for kingdom work, right? And kingdom work is all about celebrating, lifting each other up, encouraging each other. And so there's so many women in our community that just have had just a mentality of opposite of kingdom work. And so I feel like in terms of women empowerment, it really is, it has to look like Jesus, right? And Jesus reached out and Jesus extended himself and Jesus loved those who were unlovely. And I think once we are able to get a grasp of what it really means to encourage people and what it really means to be empowering others, not just ourselves, but looking outward to encourage other people, that's when we can begin to celebrate other people. Because as long as we're looking inside, it's like, well, this is what I'm doing and I need you to acknowledge that. And if you can't acknowledge that, then I'm not going to acknowledge you. And that's not empowerment at all. Like, that's the exact opposite of it. And so I'm very passionate about celebrating, not competing or comparing, because really we can't. Like, the trajectory of my life is never going to be like anybody else's. And even if I do all the same things that she does, it's not going to look like hers. Like, my results are not going to look like hers. Her results are not going to look like mine. So there's really no point in comparing or competing. But we do it so much because culture says it's okay. Culture says, that's just how it is, or, that's how you allow yourself to be seen. But of course, we know God's way is always the exact opposite of what the world's way is. So, when we celebrate others, we see that doors are open for us to be celebrated as well.
Yeah. So. I'm glad that you said that, because I hope it'll be a light bulb moment for some people. Because when I had the perspective shift of when someone was ugly to me or made remarks that were even maybe kind of hidden rude remarks, it used to bother me. And then whenever I was able to step back and go, I'm so sad for you that you're searching for something within yourself that you can't figure out, or that you're so bitter, or you're so like, then I can find grace for them and compassion for them, because I can see them through that lens of like, you're just trying to build yourself up. You're not really trying to tear me down. You know what I mean? Right,
exactly. And when you have two people in the room that are both trying to build themselves up, like, that's like cause for disaster.
Yeah, it is.
And we really need that grace, and we just really need that heart of Christ, like you said, to be like, okay, this is coming from a place of brokenness in you. And so, broken people do broken things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a quote in the book, and I say, don't let broken people break you. And it's so easy to allow that to happen when our hearts and our minds aren't on the right thing. And the right thing is loving people God's way, no matter how they treat you.
Yes. Right.
That's our highest calling. Like, people want to know purpose. Your purpose is to love other people like Jesus.
Yeah. Right.
So Katrina, tell just briefly your background for our listeners that don't know you and or don't know you yet. Your background is in the fashion industry, correct?
Yes.
So you can definitely speak to people tearing people down to bring themselves up.
That's what I was gonna say. There's a lot of comparison in that world.
Yeah, it is. It really, really is. So I had the opportunity to model. I modeled for 9 years. Modeled in New York and Atlanta. I did a few things in California. Got to travel a lot and do a lot of fun things with a lot of fun people. And it's a life that I will always miss. It's
Yes,
very, very,
I'm
very
sure.
fast paced, but at the same time, you know, it had a lot of distractions that kept me from the Lord too. So it's like a bittersweet thing. Like I certainly enjoyed my time as a model, but at the same time, I feel like spiritually I began thriving once that career was over. But yeah, I mean, I tell people, people are like, what's modeling like? It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. It has its highs and its lows for sure. You have to grow some tough skin because, as you said, it can get very petty. It can get very petty. A lot of pressure, a lot of unrealistic expectations. And, I tell people, it's really the only industry where it's like legal to discriminate.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so, and that's a hard environment to find yourself in. But yeah, that was a big chunk of my life for a long time, and it taught me a lot about women. Really, it really
Yeah.
did. And unbeknownst to me, God was grooming me to just be able to minister to women.
Yeah.
So I've seen it. I've seen it all.
So would you say that shaped your mind and your heart in preparing you to write your book?
Yeah, I do. I do, especially with the whole bit about perfection. Because with modeling, like, you have to be spot on. You can't afford to have a bad day or an off day, because that could cost you the big job.
Right.
And of course, you really can't compete with other people in the modeling industry, because again, it's like, if they're looking for this kind of girl, you're never going to be that. You know what I mean? Like when I walk into a room and they've already decided that they want somebody full of freckles, there's no hope for me.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, with that, you do get those insecurities that come out, and, when you don't take care of those insecurities, they manifest in very negative ways. And for me, I talk about this in my book, but I developed a bit of a vanity within myself, because, and I do think that it was, a protection mechanism, I guess, because, you hear your yeses, but you hear your no's, and the no's are always so much more critical than your yeses. And if you're not careful, it could really destroy, the way you see yourself. And I guess for me, I just decided one day, you know what? I am fabulous, whether you think so or not.
Yeah.
And, and that's fine on the job. But then when that starts to seep into like your outside life, like when that starts to seep into like your Monday morning,
right.
That's not okay.
Right.
And so I did, like, when I look back, I developed that. And I think a lot of that was also rooted in self-righteousness too. And so when I did become a Christian, the Lord had to teach me, like, you don't have to prove yourself to me. I know you. I see you. Just come as you are. You don't have to put on airs. You don't have to prove to me that you're worth it. Like, you already are worth it. Like, I proved to you that you're worth it. You don't have to prove that to me.
Yeah.
And so, so a lot of the things that I went through in modeling, just seeing other women, how they live, concerns that they have, doubts that they have, my own personal struggles, it really did propel me to write this book. And like I said, I feel like this book is for any woman. It really, really is.
So, and I know that you just had a newborn, so we all go through seasons where it's hard to have people into our home. But do you try to find ways to use your home as a vessel to kind of do that, show people love and show Christ's light to them?
Yeah, so I'm a member of a nonprofit organization called Pearls of Hope, and we've been together for 5 years, and 4 out of those 5 years, we met in my home every Tuesday for Bible study.
Awesome.
And so, so that's definitely been a way that I've used my home. And then on top of that, it's like, I mean, people know my house is an open door, so if you need to just come by, come on by. I mean, like, give me, 10 minutes. But
Yeah,
Right.
shoot me a text.
But,
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I rarely say no to company. I love company. I just love being in the presence of other people. I love conversation. I just love it. I do it. I'm definitely an extrovert, and that is what helps me energize. I get so excited when I know like someone's coming over to visit. And so yeah, my home is an open door. It really is.
Now, is your husband an extrovert as well? Does he love having people over? Usually,
No.
whenever someone's extreme one,
Yeah.
their spouse is extreme
Yes,
the opposite.
it's true.
Yes, my husband is a very much an introvert.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I saw them 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Kind of a guy. Where I'm like, no, let's see them every day. Because it was so much fun yesterday. It'll be more fun today.
That's right.
No, he's just like, yeah, no. But he has a lot of grace for me. He just loves me so much. And and that's one thing we had talks about, because like I said, like we would have like over 10 people in our home every Tuesday for Bible study. I think the biggest group we ever had was maybe like 13 people in our living room. And I remember asking him, like, is this okay? Like, I kind of really didn't ask you. And like 2 years later, I want to make sure it's okay.
Right. Just checking in.
Yeah, but he's like, you know what, you're happy and people are learning about God. So I'm okay with it, but he's gotten a lot better. Like when we were dating, if he didn't know you, he was just not trying to spend time with you. So it was really hard to like merge our friendships together, because he was just like, yeah, I don't know him.
Yeah.
I don't know her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I know. Let's get to know each other.
Right. Yeah.
But he's gotten a whole lot better in terms of just having more of a open heart to people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's
But,
hard
he's a
because
great
it goes
guy.
against everything
It
naturally
is.
in him.
Yeah.
It drains him, I'm sure. That's
Yeah,
how my
it does.
husband is, too,
And that's
so.
what those are the exact words he says. Like, I just feel drained. I'm like, really? Because I feel on top of the world.
Yes.
That's really funny. Yeah, and as an introvert, I will say that the best way to get better is to just push yourself out of your comfort zone and just do it. Like the way that I have learned to be able to open my door and have people in is by opening my door and having people in.
Yeah.
So, as an encouragement to the introverts out there,
Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah.
it is doable, but it's okay sometimes to say, not today, it's too much.
Yeah.
But
and
you
honestly,
can't say that
for
every day.
Yeah. Well, for extroverts, I think it's the same thing, because he doesn't like to be out and about all the time. I've had to learn how to slow things down, and that's been like out of my comfort zone. Because I'm like, it's Friday, let's go out, let's do things. Like, I want to put on my heels, and then I want to do this, and I want to take all these pictures with you. And he's just like, well, like I took one. I took one picture. I don't want to take any more. So it's like staying at home on the couch. I mean, it's easier now that we have kids, but when we were first married, I was like, why are we in the house? Like, let's go out.
Go.
So I've had to learn how to slow down and, be at his pace sometimes too. So there's a lot to learn for both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're going to move into love it or leave it. And
Okay.
you can't say you love everything.
Okay.
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 So the first one is living in a big city.
Love it. Yeah,
Now-
I love big cities. I like having options.
Mm-hmm.
As we've already said, the couch is just not really a friend for me unless I'm sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love big cities.
Okay. So you just had a baby, and this is something that Bailey loves, and some people have a very
Polarized
opinion of it. So a ring sling.
I love it. I just got one.
See? Love it. Thank you.
Love it. I just got one, and I wear it all the time. And honestly, I don't know if I like it because it's just, so great in terms of carrying the baby, or if I love it because it's become my new fashion statement. But I get stopped all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Where'd you get it? And I'm just like,
Right.
oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Well, that's the thing is everybody stops me and asks about it and is so curious. My baby turns 1 on Wednesday, and I still wear it. I mean, and
Oh,
she's
really?
big.
You still wear it at
she's
1?
big.
Okay.
Yeah, she's
okay.
still, I mean, she doesn't hold herself up, so I don't have to hold her if she's in it. It still carries her, you know. And people always ask about it, so I've been buying them as a gift for everyone, and I feel like no one else actually likes it. So my theory now is, since you love it, maybe it's that you need a long torso to really love and appreciate the
You know what?
Because I'm tall too.
Oh,
And you're
how tall
tall.
are you?
Only 5'8", so not as tall as you, but my torso is long enough that it's, you know.
Yeah. No, that makes sense once you think about it that way.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably what it is.
Yeah. My sister Hannah hated it, but she's 5 foot.
See, and I bought it for her. I buy them for everyone, and no one likes it.
And they don't like it. I think too, like, it might just feel scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't want my baby dropping out of this
Someone
thing
asked
onto
you
like
that.
the ground.
Have you ever dropped her?
Yeah, someone did just the other day. Said, "Have you ever dropped her?" I'm like, no, I would not still be carrying her around it if she'd fallen out.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
So
and they don't understand how it's really sturdy.
It is.
It really
it's very
is.
sturdy. Yeah.
And they're cute.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I got a sweet little pink one, cute as can be. So yeah.
Okay, so throwing it back to your
Modeling
modeling days.
Okay.
High fashion clothing.
What is it? Love it or leave it?
Yes.
Leave it. Leave it. Yes. Like runway clothing?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it has no place in like regular society.
Where do you wear that?
Yeah, I don't understand
Right.
it. I know it's an art.
You wear it on set to take pictures so people can ooh and ah over it. That's where you wear it.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're going to like the Golden Globes or something, I don't know.
If I have to be sewn into something,
no, thank you.
No, thank you. How do I get
that
out?
has happened to me so many times. And then it's like, well, you take all the care to make this garment and then you end up having to rip me out of it.
Yeah. Right.
So it's really just for show. It's all it is. It's just for show.
So
but it's heavy and it's hot and it's unnecessary. So I definitely say leave it.
Perfect.
What about like glam hair and makeup?
For me, leave it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like all of that.
Yeah.
I really don't. I feel like there's beauty in just simplicity.
Yep.
And I don't get me wrong. I really like having a nice face and all of that. Well, that sounded really bad. I didn't mean it like that, but I mean, I like making my face look nice.
I know what you're saying.
You have a nice face, so it's
well,
fine.
thank you. No, I like making my face look nice, but I don't feel like that should be a 7-day-a-week thing.
Yes.
For me.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There was a time where I did feel like, oh my gosh, I can't, like, I had like extra compacts in the car just in case like my nose got shiny, but I don't do that anymore. Like now, most days it's like mascara for the most part and like a lip, and that's it. Maybe even a lip, maybe not, but I save the makeup for like big things like weddings and dates and stuff like that.
And then people are like, wow, you look so good. That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't know I had it in me, did
Yeah.
you?
People are like, wow, you look so pretty. I'm like, oh my gosh, I washed my hair today. Thank you. You know,
Right?
like, I blow dried it and everything.
Yeah.
And that's a hard feat for a mom too.
It
I'm
is.
starting to like appreciate those little things like bubble baths. Like, that's that's heaven,
Yes, absolutely.
A few weeks into summer, we were going to work, and it was the first day we'd worked since the kids had been out, and I got ready, and one of my daughters said, Mommy, you look so clean. Like, thanks, that's where I'm at now. That's where I'm at.
Clean is the standard.
Yeah, clean.
Oh my gosh, no, I'm learning the struggle very well. It was easy to manage it with one, but these last 5 weeks have been a little rough. So.
Yeah. I'm finally moving out. I'm not finally moving out of newborn stage, but she's our baby, so I feel like I'm finally moving out of newborn stage because she's turning 1.
Yeah.
She's sleeping a little bit.
She's sleeping better now. Yes. So.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a blessing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. We'll let you get back to your babies.
Yeah.
Okay, we already
y'all
took more
too.
time
Y'all
than
have
we
a
did.
wonderful day.
Yeah,
Thank
you too. It's so nice to meet you.
Bye,
You too.
Katrina.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, we get really excited about the guests that we interview, and we get really into girl talk in our conversations, and then we're like, whoops, forgot to do that.
So we did not ask her where you can find her on the internet. So we've got that for you.
We have that information for you. You can find Katrina McCain at www.katrinamccain.com. She's also on Instagram at _Katrina_.
And since we recorded this interview a little over a month ago, we got some exciting news that Katrina and her friend are going to be starting a new podcast. It's called the Oh Mother Podcast, and the first episode will be dropping soon. It says it's real stories, real message, real encouragement for mommies and mommies to be. So if that's you, be sure and check it out. You can find them on Instagram at O_mother_podcast. And while you're on Instagram liking all those pages, be sure to come and find us over at Nestled Podcasts.
Yeah.
You can also find us on our website at poshnestdesigns.com.
Soon to be Nestled Podcast.
Soon to be Nestled
We're
Podcast.com.
excited about that.
We're in works with our new
Little
marketing lady.
change. And make sure you use the hashtag at #WhereINestle and share with us what you're doing and what's going on in your community and your neighborhood and in your home.
All right, guys. Thanks for peeking in our nest.
Make sure you come back next week. And as always, the door will be open.